Pleasure is a fundamental human pursuit, deeply ingrained in our biology and psychology. From the satisfaction of a good meal to the thrill of adventure, pleasure drives many of our actions. However, when pleasure is pursued without responsibility, it can lead to personal and societal consequences. The idea of indulging in pleasure without accountability is often associated with hedonism, a philosophy that prioritizes immediate gratification over long-term well-being. In our modern world, we are increasingly taught to chase after pleasure. Quick thrills, dopamine hits, and fleeting moments of satisfaction. Social media, pornography, fast food, casual sex, excessive entertainment, and drug use all promise pleasure, yet often deliver emptiness. The problem is not pleasure itself. Pleasure is part of life's beauty. The problem begins when we seek pleasure without responsibility, when we detach enjoyment from accountability, from meaning, from discipline. We begin to decay internally. A man who prioritizes pleasure without carrying the weight of its consequences becomes soft, lost, and spiritually empty. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and share this video. Pleasure is not evil. It is natural, biological, and spiritual. It is what we feel when we are safe, loved, nourished, successful, and connected. Pleasure is a reward from life itself, often signaling that something we are doing aligns with our biological design. However, modern society has perverted the function of pleasure. Instead of a reward for alignment, it has become the goal in itself. Instead of being a byproduct of a well-lived, responsible life, it has become the false god people worship. A man who sleeps well after working hard, building something meaningful, and loving his family experiences earn pleasure rooted in purpose. But a man who chases escapism, cheap sex, and digital highs at the expense of his duties is experiencing unearned pleasure, and that leads to guilt, regret, and the erosion of his soul. Escapism is the act of avoiding reality. It's the default path of those who seek pleasure without responsibility. Here's how it looks in real life. A man watches pornography instead of learning how to love a woman. A young person parties all night instead of pursuing growth. An adult remains dependent on parents or government instead of building their own life. Someone uses drugs, alcohol, or gambling to numb pain instead of facing it. Every form of escapism offers temporary pleasure, but extracts a hidden tax: lost time, lost power, lost potential. What makes escapism so dangerous is that it mimics reward without requiring growth. It gives the body dopamine while the soul shrivels. Pleasure detached from responsibility becomes addictive and self-destructive, and over time, it turns a man into a shell of who he was meant to be. Responsibility is not just about doing chores, paying bills, or showing up on time. It is the sacred weight a man carries to create, protect, serve, and grow. Responsibility transforms a boy into a man. It grounds him in reality, gives him purpose, and cultivates inner strength. When a man avoids responsibility, he remains in boyhood, no matter his age. He seeks the pleasure of a woman without protecting her heart. He seeks the pleasure of wealth without discipline or value creation. He seeks the pleasure of attention without developing integrity or skill. True masculinity is forged in the fires of responsibility, and from that fire, the pleasures of life become real, earned, and satisfying. A man who raises his child, who earns his woman's respect, who builds his business, who sacrifices for his brothers, he doesn't just experience pleasure, he experiences deep fulfillment. The consequences of pleasure without responsibility. At the individual level, mental weakness. When everything you desire is immediately available, you lose mental toughness. Instant pleasure breeds impatience and anxiety. Emotional instability. Chasing highs without a foundation leads to crashes. A life without structure breeds chaos. Spiritual death. A man who lives only for himself, his cravings, and comfort forgets his divine purpose. He becomes a slave to the body, deaf to the soul. In relationships, broken families, men seek sex but not fatherhood. Women seek romance but not responsibility. This creates children without stable homes. Mistrust. Without responsibility, promises are broken. Words mean nothing. People become disposable. Loneliness. Pleasure-focused people use each other, then discard each other. Love requires sacrifice, and sacrifice is a form of responsibility. In society, decline of values. When comfort becomes more important than truth, societies decay. Weak leadership. Leaders who chase approval rather than service make decisions based on popularity, not principle. Addiction and depression. A generation that drowns in dopamine becomes numb to real life. This is why mental health is collapsing globally. The illusion of freedom. Many believe that avoiding responsibility means freedom, but this is a lie. The man who is free to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, is often the most enslaved. Enslaved by his urges, enslaved by debt, enslaved by fear, enslaved by his own weakness. True freedom is only possible through discipline and purpose. When you carry your responsibility, you earn the right to choose your life path. You become strong enough to resist manipulation. You build a capacity to create, love, protect, and lead. A man without responsibility is not free. He is abandoned. Sexual pleasure without responsibility. One of the most obvious examples is sex. Sex is the most powerful pleasure humans can experience. But when detached for responsibility, it becomes one of the most destructive forces. Sex without commitment leads to fatherless homes. Sex without care leads to heartbreak and trauma. Sex without discipline leads to addiction and dysfunction. Pornography is the ultimate symbol of pleasure without responsibility. It gives the body the illusion of intimacy, dominance, and release, but it teaches the mind nothing about love, connection, or emotional truth. It weakens a man's will, his drive, and his connection to real women. On the other hand, sex within a committed, loving, responsible relationship becomes a source of life, power, and healing. It is not the act that's dangerous. It's the mindset behind the act. Delayed gratification, the way back. If you want to escape the trap of pleasure without responsibility, you must embrace delayed gratification. This is the art of waiting, working, sacrificing, and building before you taste a reward. This is what separates men from boys. Train your body before expecting respect. Build your skill before expecting wealth. Prove your loyalty before demanding intimacy. Carry your responsibilities before seeking pleasure. When you delay gratification, you stretch your soul. You become capable of more. And when the pleasure finally arrives, it tastes better because you know you've earned it. Reclaiming sacred masculinity. The world doesn't need more men chasing pleasure. The world needs more kings, men who carry burdens with honor, men who discipline their body, master their mind, lead with purpose, and love with integrity. Pleasure becomes divine when it flows from order, not chaos. You must ask yourself, do I want to be entertained? Or do I want to be transformed? Do I want to feel good temporarily? Or do I want to become good permanently? Join our Telegram channel in the link below.